It's beautiful out here in the wintertime, but it can get really cold, which can be dangerous and uncomfortable. But luckily, I brought some things to help me out with that on this trip. I have basically everything set up. I've got the hot tent stove in there. As you can see, the chimney's pretty mangled. Lesson learned, don't try and put the chimneys together for hot tent in minus 30. It just doesn't work. Do it in the comfort of your home or in a warmer environment like your garage. It's a good lesson as to why you shouldn't rely on hot tents. If I was trying to rely on the hot tent to keep me warm tonight, I'd be in rough shape. It's supposed to get down to minus 20, and it's too dangerous to run the stove all night with me in it, with how many leaks I have through that chimney. So luckily I have a very warm sleeping system with me, and I'm going to be okay with the hot tent not functioning. It's very frustrating. I'm frustrated with myself. I should have tested my gear before bringing it out on a trip, and if I had done that, I wouldn't have this issue with the chimney. Look at that thing. Look how mangled that is. I'm gonna have to put in some work to get that looking good again. But it is keeping things warm in there, so hopefully I don't asphyxiate. I'm gonna boil some water on the stove and then probably watch a movie. Good morning, guys. I actually had a pretty good night last night, considering I didn't have the coziness of the hot tent to hang out in. This chair adapter thing from Thermarest works out really well. Basically, you just put the adapter onto your sleeping pad, and then you can cinch it up into kind of like a chair, basically. And it was really nice to be able to sit on my sleeping pad in my sleeping bag and read and watch a movie. So I was still nice and cozy warm. It didn't get quite as cold as it was supposed to last night. Ended up getting rid of the stove completely last night just to make a little bit more room in here. I'm feeling a bit better this morning about that hot tent failure that I had last night. We're going to talk about that a little bit more once I get through my morning routine. And I also had a pretty big realization kind of last night, this morning, that I want to share with you guys. all packed up, and I promised you guys I'd share with you a realization that I had on this trip. I had a bit more time to think about it this morning because I had a bit of a slow, lazy morning. It's pretty warm out right now, -6 degrees Celsius, 20 degrees Fahrenheit. So kind of putzed around, had the coffee, a little bit of a slower morning. And normally when it's really cold out, I just get everything packed up and get moving right away in order to warm up. But when it's nice and warm like it is today, it's nice to take your time, enjoy the winter camping experience. And I love winter camping. It's one of the most beautiful times of the year. It's really quiet, serene. It's really nice out here. But yesterday when I had the issue with the hot tent stove chimney, I got into a bit of a bad mindset, and that's not what I want out here. A hot tent is really just a comfort item, and that's something that I realized last night when I was putting it all together and it wasn't working out is, you know what, I don't need the hot tent. It's cozy enough inside my sleeping bag. It's nice to have the hot tent just to kind of be able to hang out, but when I'm by myself, it's not essential. And sometimes I feel like I need to be that kind of professional outdoorsman for you guys, but there's a lot of things that I don't know how to do or I haven't been doing for very long. This is only my second winter hot tenting, and I don't have it figured out yet. Putting the chimney together in a warm environment, that's a lesson learned for me, and hopefully sharing it with you guys allows somebody out there to avoid that mistake. Check out this snow. This is awesome. And that's kind of the two-part realization that I had. First of all, I don't always need to have the answers. I can make mistakes. I can share it with you guys. And I think it's important for me to be making those mistakes and sharing them because then you guys get to learn from my mistakes instead of going out there and making them yourselves. The other kind of realization that came along with that is that other than my sleep system and maybe the ability to make water, everything else is kind of a comfort item. I can get by in a winter camping scenario with just my sleeping pad, sleeping bag, and quilt. And then if I am on a longer trip, then the ability to melt snow and boil water is another essential item. But I'm kind of curious to kind of push those limits, maybe in a little bit more of a controlled environment, less remote, going out with just those core items and seeing how I do. If that's a video that you guys would be interested in seeing, then subscribe to the channel and let me know in the comments. Otherwise, go check out my winter camping playlist up in there. There's a lot of really awesome trips in there, as well as videos about everything that I have in my pack, why I bring it, the clothing that I hike in wintertime, and then all the clothing that I wear around camp.